Hello everyone, this is Anya. Welcome back to another video at Round 3 Designs. Today I have the second edition of our Year of Shaker cards, so February. I have a banner made of mirror silver cardstock, some phrases die cut out of some pearlescent paper with adhesive, my shaker bits, my cover panel, my transparency, my backer sheet, which is that same pearlescent paper, my card base, and my envelope. So let's get started. This is a standard A2 size card, so 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and the panel is 4 inches by 5 1/4. So it'll leave a border around each edge there. And this is the basic layout that I'm going to go for. This is what I thought of the first time I saw it, and I can't get it out of my head until I do it. So of course there's many different ways you can do yours, but this is the way that made sense to me. So I'm going to take some 1/8 inch score tape and go all the way around all 4 edges, and it doesn't quite fit. It's a little too big, so I'm going to just roll up any edges of the adhesive that show through the front. Anything that shows through any of the die cut holes or off the edges, I'm just going to roll it back onto itself and give it a good press. Of course, you could save yourself the trouble of rolling back the adhesive like me if you just use liquid adhesive. I don't tend to use liquid adhesive with plastics because I'm impatient and I don't want to wait for it to dry, and I would like to just move on and do the next thing. So after I get all 4 edges done, I'm going to put some random pieces of adhesive toward the center, and this is just to stabilize it against the transparency and make sure it doesn't look like it's a separate piece. It's not necessary for structure, it just makes it appeared as one piece with the transparency. So I've got all of my aligners off, and I'll line this up. Didn't quite get it the first time, so I'll just peel it right back up and line it up again the second time. And there we go, all nice and ready. I noticed a few bits again of adhesive that was sticking out, so I'm just pushing it back with my reverse grip tweezers. And now no one will ever know that there was ever any adhesive there. Moving on to foam tape. I use the 3M foam mounting tape that you can buy in 36-yard rolls, and I take the 1/2 inch version. I've moved on to using 3/4 inch, but this is when I was using 1/2 inch. I would cut it in half and then layer those together to make a double layer of foam tape, and then I would cut those in half to do each side, and that ends up with approximately 1/8 of an inch. Sometimes a little bigger, sometimes not. And I just trim it as I need it. So there, I just cut the little end off, and I'm sorry I'm out of frame here. I was still getting used to working in frame, and trimming it just ever so slightly smaller than the cover. And here is that other end that was cut off. It's not quite straight, so I'm just going to cut the other side off and make it as even as humanly possible, because we're all human, and line that one up on that end. Just like so, and snip the end that was a little too long. There we go. Then I will do the top and the bottom. Just measure it out. I do like cutting my foam tape this way because it means I'm using literally 10 inches for the whole shaker card, and that to me is very economical. And now I can get 3 pieces out of this one if I was a little more careful cutting, but I usually end up throwing the 3rd one away because I will pick the most even side. You see I've just flipped it over there. And then it gives me 2 that are pretty close to perfect, and then 1 that I can just throw away. And again, I'm still using that same 10 inches, so it's okay if that 1 piece goes in the garbage. I could save them for little pieces that I use when I'm being fussy about layering foam tape, but usually I throw it away. So here's the top one, and on the bottom you'll see, I'll move it up in just a minute here, that I didn't, when I was trimming it, I cut it too far and didn't get the right length there. So I'm just going to cut a little piece and piece it in there, and it works just fine. When you're doing shaker cards, you want to make sure that things are squished in, and that's why the foam tape is so important. So here I have just cut a piece of the Couture Creations, which I believe now is called Art Decorations, Art Coordinations. I can't remember. They have a new name there, and I'll get the listing and put that in the description list below. The product itself is actually called Die Cut and Bond, so I just can't remember which name is the manufacturing name now. So I've put that on the back of my backer panel, that the pearlescent piece that's 4 inches by 5.25, and then I flipped that over and laid my shaker bits on top. And I'm just being fussy here. I'm pulling out. I thought there was too much words compared to the images and the bits and bobbles. So I'm pulling some of the words out and then flipping them over so that they're legible, whether they're upside down or right side up. I don't want them to be mirrored, so I've making sure they're all facing the correct way. And the baubles that are in there, they're called dewdrops. They have a flat side and a round side, so I'm just flipping them all over so that they're laying on the flat side. And then I will put that aside. And here I am going to take out my powder tool and run this along the inside of the transparency. And this helps with keeping the shaker bits from sticking to the foam, as well as it helps with static electricity and keeping like sequins and other mylar plasticky bits away from each other. So it'll shake better. Now I just removed all of the liner from my foam tape, and I'm going to line this up at the corners. And then I have a little bit of overhang. So I'll just trim that off with my craft knife. I'm just leaning it against the cover and pulling it down. And then sticking a little bit of the foam tape back in it. And there we go. I'll just push down all my edges, make sure they're all in there. Looking good. Now I'm just removing the backing sheet for the die cut and bond, and then that puts my whole piece down at once. And I'm pushing down pretty hard, and I popped open my shakers. So I'm just putting all my little bits in and making sure that nothing's stuck to the foam tape, and then I will just re-adhere it. It just popped open because of pressure. It was my own doing. And there we go. It works just fine. Everything's shaking very nicely. Looking good. Now I'm putting some 1/4-inch score tape on the banner and then just lining it up. And I toyed with putting it at the bottom or the top. But I keep going back to this middle position, which I hardly ever do on cards. So this is a good change for me. And I've decided to go with the phrase "miss you," and I'm just trying to get little die cut bits out, lining it up. This is that pearlescent paper. I'm just going to gently set the "miss" word down while I clean out the "you," and then I can finalize the positioning of them before I push them down completely. There we go. That's looking good. And Laura Basson would always remind us, don't forget your tittle. So there's the tittle, and that one's all good. I'll save these other phrases for other cards later, and those are all set. So I'll give it a little shake here for you guys. You can hear it. Gotta love the shakers. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.